Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Vibing with Sleezy, the podcast. This is season 4, episode 13. And I want to thank everybody for listening and tuning in and downloading for season 4. Season 4 has been going great. I've had a lot of new guests, a lot of strangers, actually, people that I've never met before have been coming on because I've been getting great recommendations and I've been kind of networking outside of my circle and finding new people for the show. So that's been a total blast. I want to give a shout out to Riley Dickens. He owns What Makes You Smile Gallery and Gifts. He's a former guest on the show. I feel like the past few episodes I keep shouting him out because he hasn't he hasn't stopped giving me great guests, or I keep running into him at the store. So shout out to Riley for letting me encounter another great guest. So my special guest for the show today is none other than Angel Marie Mays, and we met at Riley's store. She had stopped in to buy something for her client, and she got an elephant because her client likes elephants, and then picked up some of Riley's art. So it was an awesome moment. And I heard her, I kind of eavesdropped while I was looking around. I heard her talking. I was like, she'd be perfect for the show. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So, I want to start off by just asking you. We'll just kind of dive into different things. So, what kind of brought you into that store that day?
Okay, so that day, actually, I was doing some self-care for myself.
Okay,
So that's one of the main things that I push. That's one of my big platforms is practicing self-care. So I was doing self-care for myself, and my son was actually around at the doo-wop shop. He
okay,
likes to play music, and he's a drummer and a musician and all this kind of stuff. So I left. He wanted to stay in there for a while, so I was like, I want to go just walk around and check out what's around and see what's going on around here.
yeah,
So I saw the sign for What Makes You Smile Art Gallery. I love art. It's a big deal for me. So I popped in there and here we are.
yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, um, you said you had clients and have a business, and as a business owner, tell me and the listeners kind of. I know you were sharing a little bit with me and Riley, but what do you do? And it seemed like you do very important work, which was awesome.
Yes. So I am a mental health therapist. I do mental health therapy sessions. I do self-care workshops, and I do individual therapy, couples therapy, group therapy, and family therapy.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And what do you find that kind of a two-parter? What do you find most rewarding for you doing therapy? And then what do you find is maybe one kind of type of therapy that you like to approach more? Like, do you feel like you are stronger with couples therapy or solo? So just kind of, I guess that kind of question.
Okay, so what's rewarding for the therapy is seeing the people's growth,
Mhm.
seeing people make breakthroughs, seeing people heal after going through like a huge struggle, you know, starting at one point down and out and making these milestones, actually seeing this happen before my eyes.
Yeah.
So that's the rewarding part. As far as the which part would I rather who would I rather do therapy with? Um, I've usually had individuals.
Okay.
That's what normally comes.
Mm.
It's individuals, and then I try to work systemically and bring in other parts of their family or other parts of their social network that
Okay.
has an impact on their life. So if somebody comes in, an individual comes in for therapy because they're anxious or depressed or they're stressed out or they're having family problems or what have you, I meet with them for some time and then try to strategically bring in the family members or the children or whoever is in their daily lives.
Yeah.
So that's how it would come into being family therapy.
Okay.
And then
That
the
sounds
other,
good.
yeah, yeah, and then the other one that I do on a regular basis is group therapy. So I
Okay.
partner with a couple nonprofit organizations who serve that population who have mental health issues and challenges. And so I partner with them and go in and do group therapy in their agency.
Oh, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, you're doing super important work, and that's why I knew I had to have you on the show because I mean, that's very important stuff. I
Thank you.
have to say for my personal self, I say this all the time. I tell many friends and many people close to me, therapy saved my life. I mean, therapy really helped me. I went through a very difficult situation in 2018. Went through a bad breakup after about 6 years, but also had a couple other things with job transition, and it just seemed like the whole world was collapsing on me at one time. And I'll be honest, I've always felt like a positive person. I've always loved life. I've always felt like I got it together. But at that point in my life, I felt like the walls were caving in. I kind of had to figure out, get an answer. And I also felt like I had heard from a couple of friends, like, you need to go talk to a stranger, like a professional, like talk to somebody that, they don't have any bias. Like let them, talk to you, give you advice. And I thought about it and I was like, I'm going to do it. And I ended up doing it for about probably close to 6 to 7 months at Compass Counseling over in Linden. And I, I'll admit, I haven't gone back as much because I do feel good and I felt like it really helped me and did what it needed to do. And I think I'll always need therapy, but that 6 to 7 months of doing it and just after what I went through, it saved my life. I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that. I always tell my clients that, you kind of gauge what you need. It's kind of like if you have a cold, you take
Hmm.
the medicine for the cold, it relieves the symptoms, you get well, and then you go on doing life.
Yeah,
So therapy is the same kind of way. You go get your dose of however much you need. You get better, you feel better, you start moving better, and then you can kind of relinquish some of your therapy sessions and then even terminate and just do life.
yeah.
So you practice what you've learned and then you come into another roadblock. Then if you need to return to therapy again to deal with something else, it's the same way.
That's yeah, and that's what's great about therapy because the thing that's most important, I think, in general, it's an outlet, and I think people don't realize, even people that are introverted or more kind of solo dependent, like want to do their own thing. It's like I, I feel like, everybody needs an outlet. Everybody needs someone to express to. I mean, I don't know how many friends, family I call up during the week and it's even over the most minimal stuff. And I'm like, hey, let me vent to you real quick. And I catch myself doing that, but after I do it, I feel so much better. And it's like it's kind of cool that us as humans, just us telling something, it makes us feel better, you know.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
what do you feel like therapy has helped you in your life in any way? Like, did you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've had therapy throughout my life. I've had a therapist as I've been a therapist as well. I'm not currently seeing her right now, but I do have a therapist. So
Mhm.
if anything, therapists get crazy stuff going in their life too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've had therapists since back when I was young, maybe 11 or 12. My parents took me, and
Okay.
then when I was right in my early 20s, I went to therapy, and then again in my maybe mid 30s, went to therapy, and then so I'm now well, I'm 45 now,
Okay.
so the last couple of years, like during COVID and all of that stuff, I had a therapist. We did the telehealth thing, and
Mhm.
so yeah, it's absolutely helped me throughout my life and kind of making it through hard times.
And that's really cool. And that's cool too that, you know, you're able to find your therapeutic outlet and but then you're also able to save people's lives and help them as well. I wanted to ask you this, doing therapy, have you seen it? Do you feel like just the industry in general has improved and there's like new techniques and better, or do you find that just the old ways in general are still working?
I think both. I think that the new innovative ways have made therapy more available to some people, more convenient,
Okay.
and a lot of times people getting nervous when they're going to do actually an in-person therapy session. And this is with somebody, a total stranger. They have no idea who the person is. And sometimes they get apprehensive about coming in to the office or to the place of where they're going to be in person.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the telehealth, the online, some people can even do it just by telephone, and they don't have to even see the person face to face, because a lot of times, like I said, people get apprehensive and they feel embarrassment. So I think it's opened up doors for people to be more honest and more real and actually dig deep and get to the root causes of their issues.
And do you find it challenging, like say you built, you have a big resume or portfolio, excuse me, not resume, but portfolio of clients coming in maybe for that day or even that week. Do you find it, like, I know you got notes and things like that, but do you find it difficult to always remember everybody's situation and need like a refresher? Or do you realize, like, once you do you find yourself, once you've met that person, that you're like, oh, there's Susan, I know her issue, let's pick it up right there. I just out of curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I join with my clients very well.
Mhm.
I kind of try to just feel them out, just keep it real, be as as down to earth as possible, and
Yeah.
as transparent as possible to let them know nothing to be embarrassed about here. I've probably done every sin and every crazy thing that you can think about in life. I've probably had all the feelings and embarrassing moments that you've had. So don't feel embarrassed, So I feel like I join with them very well, and that makes them able to be very open. And so, yeah, I think that if it was not crossing the ethical line, then my clients would be my friends.
Yeah, that's really really cool, and and that's what I want to piggyback on that. You do care about your clients. I know that we've only met once, and I know that this is the second time we're meeting here virtually. And I'm not just saying this because you're my podcast guest. I could tell you care about your clients. I could tell that you want to get gifts for your client. You want to take care of your clients. It's not because you're trying to buy them. You just want to show them that they're appreciated and you care. And that's what you were doing in Riley's shop. You're like, hey, my client likes elephants, and you saw, the elephant artwork on the wall. You saw the elephant piece in the window, and it's like, I just kind of heard you talking to Riley, and I just knew at that point I was like, yeah, I gotta have her on, because this lady, not only does she do what she says she does, she also cares about it. And that's what I think is the most important thing. If people care about what they do, it's kind of like it attracts others. Like, it's like, oh, I want to talk to that person, or hey, that person's doing important stuff. Like, and so when someone's passionate, I think it brings others involved. So I think that's probably what I can already say. Not saying I know, but I could predict that your clients probably feel very very like a friend is with them.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's how I feel, and like I said, if it weren't for, we have to keep ethical guidelines and keep, boundaries and things like that. But that's how I treat them, as if, when we're in the therapy space, so that they can feel like, how you want to talk to your best friend about things, but sometimes your best friend gets burnt out about hearing you complain about, oh, this relationship, or having all these issues and repetitive. And, that person is not, um, they're not, they can't be your best friend and your therapist. So they
Mhm.
kind of get burnt out with hearing it over and over again. So I try to kind of play whatever role it is that the person may need. So sometimes the younger people that come in, they may have had issues with their parents not being available, not being caring, not being compassionate. So I kind of feel into that role in a therapeutic way. And
Okay,
then if it's
that's cool.
people who don't have, some of them might be an only child,
Mhm.
and so I'll kind of be a sibling type in a therapeutic way. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's how that goes.
I think that's really cool. I mean, that you find different ways to approach different people, and that's where I was going to ask you another question is, do you find that when you're talking to people, which you shared already, that therapy's helped you in ways, like, do you hear people talking and you reflect on maybe story situations that happened to you in the past, and you're like, hey, I can kind of relate to this person, but also you're kind of like you're like, hey, the way they're talking about this, like, maybe I need to circle back and look at this situation. Like, Do you feel like you learn from your clients as well?
Absolutely. I always tell them that too, to make sure that they don't feel like I'm not an expert.
Hmm.
I'm just here to walk with you through this process. And so yeah, I do get to know them very well. And I just, like I said, just join with them and let them be themselves. So yeah, it does remind me of different things that I've been through in my life.
Hmm.
Most of my clients I relate to because I've actually been somewhere where they are, or I've experienced what they're experiencing. So,
Hmm.
for example, two things that stick out that a lot of people don't like to really discuss, don't like to, it's kind of like a taboo, secretive type thing. So, adoption,
Hmm.
a couple of my clients are adopted, and there's all kind of underlying issues that happen with people who are adopted, with adoptees, and so I'm actually adopted.
Okay.
So that's something that I can share with them and really understand the feeling of the issues that come with being adopted. And so the other one that's a real big deal with a lot of people that that come to therapy is domestic violence or intimate partner violence. And
Mhm.
so I am a domestic violence survivor. So then I'm able to understand and walk through this process with people who are suffering and enduring domestic violence or intimate partner violence.
That is incredible. I mean, what I also hear from you is that you're a warrior. I mean, that's why you have your own story, and that's incredible. And I think too, you being able to relate to people, um, that helps people in every situation. Like, when you go to the store, who do you want to find? The employee that knows the store and like can show you where that item is. Like when you go to therapy, when you're needing someone to lean on, you rather hear somebody that's like, oh wait, you've been through that too. That just, man, that takes such a pressure off, and it's like, hey, this person knows what's going on. Because a lot of people, when they tell their friends and family, they lash back out like, you don't even know what I'm dealing with or what I'm doing, and it's like, well, yeah, because they might not be able to relate. They haven't done that. So that's really cool that that's the way that happens. And do you find too that like uh when you're talking to people, is it, because I'm an emotional person, just when I hear people's stories and things, is it hard to keep emotions together as the therapist?
Yeah, that's one thing that happens. One thing for me, I mean, I'm not gonna pretend, I'm not gonna fake, I'm not gonna like if I need to let tears drop, I'm
Mm.
gonna let tears drop.
Yeah.
Because I want them to know this is real. I'm not outside of feeling. And if your story is impacting me in some type of way, I'm sure that and the other thing with crying is going back to when I was in therapy before.
Mm.
I used to try to stop my tears when I was in therapy. And my therapist told me, she said, why do you do that? Why do you stop your tears? And I said, because it makes me feel like I'm weak, like I'm not, I feel weak and I feel embarrassed and vulnerable in letting other people see me cry. And she said this one thing to me, and it stuck with me since then, that maybe you give other people permission to cry if you allow yourself to feel. And so that's what happens. Sometimes, I'm not like on boohoo or anything in the session, but I will actually, tears will drop from my eyes and I will allow them to see that,
Yeah.
because they need to, I encourage my clients a lot, feel, cry. We need to cry. Crying is a necessity.
Yes, and I after a good cry, it does help, and I think that's why laughter is important. A lot of emotions and expression is very important because again, it's back to everyone needs an outlet. Everyone needs to let off something, and that's why you know uh, I laugh and make fun of my boss. Like him today, he was cracking me up because he's in Puerto Rico and he's working from his
Hmm.
phone. And the man, I'll give him credit. He's a great boss. He works hard. but he overdoes it. And the dude's exhausted. And he finally goes to Puerto Rico with some friends and gets away. And the dude's texting me today, hey, I just want to make sure to invoice 173.
Ah,
I wrote him back
no.
and I said, dude, go enjoy the island and chill. We got this under control. And the reason I say that is because I feel like it kind of is entwined with therapy is that you got to have your outlet, but you got to blow off some steam. You got to go, you got to relax and do those things. So I think to circle back to what you said in the beginning of the episode, self care is so important. Self
Absolutely.
care, traveling, taking care of yourself. And it don't even have to be anything elaborate. It could be going to get your favorite meal. It could be going to get a pedicure. It could be going to go sit in the bathtub, whatever. It's like, it's literally what makes you happy and gives you your own care. So I think what you said about that's huge. And that's kind of
Yeah.
cool too that you and your son do like we're getting your own self-care on that day.
Yeah, yeah. Because actually he had broke up with his girlfriend and he was
Ooh,
kind of going through some emotional things. And so I had some free and open time that day. So I went and got him and just to occupy his mind. And so it ended up being like an awesome day for like both of us to get self-care in.
yeah.
And that was a good thing. That was
And
a
to
good
be honest, a self-care, that's another thing I'll say is kind of say me when I was going through the stuff in 20, I'm a big like road trip guy, traveler guy, and I did like a 4 day trip to like four different random cities, kind of went up north and I just went and saw some stuff, went to a basketball game and the zoos or whatever. And it was just, it felt cool. I mean, it felt good. Like I felt like I could clear my head and it's like, it was like a judgment free zone almost. Like, even
Yeah.
though like, I was like, no one here knows what I'm dealing with. So I can just kind of take care of myself.
Mhm. Mhm. And actually putting your mind onto something else. It's actually like getting on and off of a roller coaster. So
Yes.
you physically put your body onto the roller coaster. You sit on there, you stay on the ride for the fun. Okay, but you don't want to keep doing that roller coaster over and over and over and over again. So you physically take your body off of the
Yeah.
roller coaster. So that's what we have to do with our minds. When we going through hard times, stress, stuff is bothering us, we ruminating over stuff, we can actually put our minds onto something else by doing self-care activities. So it's going to automatically change your thought pattern when you go to the zoo. Even if
Yeah.
you're feeling down and out and stressed, you walk in the zoo, your brain pattern, your the way that your mind is working is automatically going to change.
Yeah.
So then when your thinking changes, the way that you feel changes.
Yes, that's I man, 100%. And I have to already say you are definitely a great therapist. 'Cause I mean, you have that way of approaching things and you're very smart and intelligent. So,
Thank you.
I'm really glad that you were able to be a guest on my show because yes, it's not where we're going to be able to sit here and we're treating people and saying, but it's just you're able to get your story out. And I want people listening to be able to reach out to you, use your services. I know that you can help and benefit. And also, too, it's like you're an awesome person, an awesome story. And I think it's so cool what you've overcome because adoption's actually really close to my family. My grandfather, rest in peace, he passed away a few years. He was passed away almost 93 years old, which is crazy to
Wow.
live that long. Full blown orphan his whole life. And what's crazy is was an orphan to 18, went out a different and this is back in the 20s, 30s, 40s ish area. And he told me so many stories about everything he overcome. And and while he was alive, he gave back to a lot of orphanages and because he knew the struggle. And what what I learned from it was I always have now learned a new appreciation for orphanage adoption, the whole like people getting second chances. And I've actually had guests on here on the show that have just recently found out they were adopted and they were older. So a lot of it is it's really cool to hear that. And then it's kind of cool too what I really loved that my grandpa got to do with the adoption thing was he got to reunite with other family members later down the road through it all kind of, and through his just guardians he had, and he reached out. And so kind of there in his later 20 years, we learned more about other people he had in the order and other brothers, sisters. So it's just really cool. And I think people really need to learn about it and take an appreciation for it. And if you are looking into, say you can't have a kid, or you want to have a kid, or you want to help somebody out, look into adoption. I mean, for the
Absolutely.
listeners listening, it's an easy research thing to at least look into.
Mhm.
I want to say that today was a special thing for the listeners listening. I went to Full Bleed MFG, who's made my Vibing with Sleazy the podcast t-shirts. They've made me 25 special shirts, and they will be at What Makes You Smile Gathering Gifts, where me and Angel met at Riley's shop. So Riley will be selling those for me there, and I can't thank him enough. And I love him getting to be able to sell the shirts and make something, and I get to make some of it, and it's just a good collab, and it gets to promote the show. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I know you got a special event tonight, and but I want to appreciate you taking the time. You rescheduled me because I was sick, so I'm super appreciative of that. Love to have you on again in the future. This is season 4, so I'll have season 5 coming next year, and love to get updates and see where it's going. So before we sign off, I want you to tell the listeners just how they can reach out, and just kind of anything you want to say just about therapy and for somebody maybe out there struggling.
Okay. So my business is called Resilience Way Mental Health Therapy and Self-Care Agency. So
Okay.
I'm located at 7327 Southside Drive. That's in Louisville, Kentucky. It's in the South End, right off of New Cut and Southside Drive. You can contact me at 502-712-9723, or you can send an email to Marie Mays 37@outlook.com. And for anybody that's listening, if you have contemplated, have even it's ever crossed your mind about doing therapy, I just want to make sure that you know that having a therapist does not mean that you're crazy or that something is wrong with you. Everybody needs to talk. It's a necessity. It's just like a car needs oil. People need physical health and mental health care at the same time. So it's important. It's a necessity. So don't ever feel bad or hesitate to ask for help.
Thank you so much again for being on season 4, episode 13. You were an amazing guest. I want to thank everybody for listening, downloading, tuning in. Again, vibingwithsleazy.com, vibingwithsleazy@gmail.com. Also reach out Facebook, Instagram, Vibing with Sleazy, the podcast. Got a few more episodes here for season 4. We're going to keep pumping them out. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, downloading, and we are out. Peace.